strike again, baby! The River Hoopers knock off the US Monastir team. They won this game 92-88. Let's just talk about this. So prior to this game, this was a game that was so difficult to call. And I must say, my foot was for the River Hoopers because they won the Sahara Conference. And also looking at the comeback that the US Monastir team had, it really, really was so difficult for me to even be able to pick anyone. But this game lived up to my expectations. And the people who watched this game were 3,032. Listen, I mean, looking at how the River Hoopers just looked from start to finish, it was so impressive, considering the fact that they lost their last two games in the Sahara Conference. They did not skip a beat, and they just continued just piling it on. And I really, really liked the way the US Monastir team also came out. They didn't have one of the dud performances we saw in the first three games to open up the Sahara Conference. We saw a lot of fight in them, but it was just too little, too late. Despite the loss, the US Monastir team, they shot very well, especially when it came to shooting from the field. They shot 49% from the field, 63% on 2-point field goals. They shot 31% from downtown, and from the free throw line, they were 15 of 22. That's 68%. So they didn't go to the line as much. The US Monastir team did not draw fouls like that because the River Hoopers, they drew a lot of fouls and they had too many trips to the line. In 30 free throw attempts, they scored 18. So you could see, even despite USM leading in free throw percentage, the River Hoopers had more chances at shooting from the line. So I must say, this game was decided in the free throw line, and it was so unfortunate to see the USM team just fall down like that. And there was a high likelihood that this game would have even been pushed to overtime because of how it was so competitive and close. Because the US Monastir team we just had the hot hand, but even despite being able to have a good free throw percentage, shooting exhibition, they still got rebounded brutally, and they just looked so small in there because the River Hoopers had 50 total rebounds to US Monastir's 34, and they also coupled it along with 10 steals. The only statistics that the US Monastir team, outside shooting-wise, were the assists and blocks, because when it came to dishing out the rock, USM are very good at passing the ball, and they're very good at getting everyone involved in the game. And given the fact that they have Ater Majok in there, of course, them blocks were just flying in there. And Ater Majok, I must say, he didn't look as dominant as I thought he would be, but he still was able to do some bit of damage. But the person who did the most damage was Marcus Crawford, especially scoring wise, because the main matchup was with him, Marcus Crawford, and Will Perry, because they went like shot for shot, bucket for bucket, and it was really, really exciting because Marcus Crawford, that he had 31 to Will Perry's 33, and the other supporting cast for the USM team really did not want to let Marcus Crawford take all the load like that. We had Osoma Manoi, he had 22, and Sadio Dokure, he had 14. Behind Will Perry's 33 points, Kevin Amayo, he had 18, and Peter Olisemeka, he had 18 points as well. And Peter Olisemeka, he was special because he had a monster double-double of his own, and he had 18 points and 12 total rebounds. He led the River Hoopers in rebounds, and Kevin Amayo, This is another guy who had a monster double-double of his own with 18 points and 10 assists. And also Will Perry, he just had 5 assists in passing, but hey, it is what it is. But looking at Marcus Crawford's performance, behind his 31 points, he had 9 assists, leading the charge in dishing out the rock to and finding and just creating and facilitation. That is something that Marcus Crawford is known for, and that is what enabled him to not only propel the Eldonets in last year's postseason to the finals, but also to facilitate the USM's comeback into these playoffs. Because last year they didn't have him on the squad. They brought him in this season. He was able to turn it around in the second half of the regular season, and in the playoffs he did not disappoint. Despite the loss, both teams just held serve pretty well, and it was such an entertaining game all through, because when at tip-off, both teams had a strong start, and both teams were not letting up. And the team that had the somewhat of a hot hand was the River Hoopers. But despite the USM team not being able to match up with them scoring wise as the game progressed, the most efficient team was the US Monastir team. The River Hoopers, I've seen them a lot of times have very poor starts to games, and I've seen them pick up games in the second half. They can have a very poor start, but when the game progresses in the third quarter, fourth quarter, in the second half, they're able to pick themselves up, and they're able to go ahead and challenge and be a very, very huge threat to other teams. But given that performance, I must say the USM team, they were just there to make sure to get to the second round. And there was a high likelihood that if they made it to the second round, there was a chance that they had a legit shot of even going back to the finals. But they got eliminated. I almost said sweat, but they also got eliminated alongside the Al Ahly team, and they got eliminated, and also a FS Rabat team. So 3 North African teams just got knocked off, and I must say it was so difficult to watch, because I felt like the North African teams, they have the legit shot and chance of making it and proceeding, because the only North African team left is the Al Ahly Benghazi team from Libya, being led by Soro Diabate. So this performance was still good despite the loss. USM still have a lot to do. They have a lot in the tank. And given Will Perry, he played 40 minutes, played total 40 minutes. Kevin Amayo, 37 total minutes. Peter Olisemeka, 18 points. He played 33 total minutes. Devin Eke, 38 minutes. So you could see the players just played they played for quite some time in the game. And sometimes I've been seeing a lot of these things happen, even when I analyze NBA games. When you have an over-reliance of a player and they are playing heavy minutes, the recovery just becomes quite difficult, and they're not able to operate in the second games to follow, especially when it comes to the semis, where every single possession counts. So hopefully the River Hoopers are able to rest up and be able to be fresh for the games, because if they're not going to be able to be fresh for the games, things might go sideways for them really fast. But looking at their performance and looking at how they're able to outlast the USM team, especially when it came to the free throw line and drawing fouls, it was spectacular. Hopefully we're able to see more such performances from the River Hoopers, and they were the kings of the Sahara Conference. And it just goes to show me that this performance in particular, and seeing all the 3 of the 4 North African teams being eliminated, I must say basketball is not limited to those countries in North Africa. You're seeing West African nations also hold serve, and also Sub-Saharan Africa is also getting that spotlight, because with Petro de Luanda and the Cape Town Tigers, they are just holding serve pretty well. They are putting themselves up, and they are being like anomalies, especially a team like Cape Town Tigers. They just came out of nowhere. I know Petro de Luanda have been there, done that. They've made the BAL finals. They know how things are, and right now they're in the semis. So there's a high likelihood that this wave can continue because North Africa was just dominating everywhere. We're seeing West African nations not letting up. River Hoopers, this is their second season and they're doing the unthinkable, upset after upset, and also winning the Sahara Conference. So it was so good to see. And the USM team, they led in assists. They turned over the ball only 13 times, and they had the best bench productivity to 21. And not only that, they led in fast break points and points from turnovers. So that's something that was very good, and I enjoyed it all through. And these two teams met in the regular season. They were in the Sahara Conference. I don't know why I mentioned Kalari. I was thinking about the Cape Town Tigers. But these two teams, they matched up in the Sahara Conference. So it was so good to see that. And USM were dominating. Were dominating, especially in the first go rounds that they met. You saw in the first ever season, the USM team beat the River Hoopers 99-70. And at that point, people did not know much about the River Hoopers that much. They didn't know about the USM team as much. And in the second and third times that the USM and River Hoopers met, it happened in the Sahara Conference, you could see they were 1-for-1. So the River Hoopers got their first win. It was so embarrassing for the USM team, and the USM team got their get back in the second go around. So this was just a back and forth in these four matchups. But all in all, I'm just so excited. So do drop me your comments in the comment section down below. Do you think the River Hoopers can be able to go and make history and make it to the finals? Because right now, as we speak, they have a good roster, they have a decent roster, and they have the ability to challenge. And I don't think there's any team that can be able to stop them like that. As long as Will Perry has those performances where he scored 30 plus points, they always have a fighting chance. But that's just my opinion. So do drop me your comments in the comment section down below. And I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.